Welcome everybody to Fountain of Light, here with Wendy, and we have a special guest today.
Franne Valle Mejia.
Nice to have you here today, Franne. And Franne actually brought along another guest with her today.
Yeah, that's baby Mejia on the way, 7 months.
7 months, you guys. Wow, congratulations, Franne. How are you feeling?
Thank you. Very good, actually. Just tired most of the time, but other than that, pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay. So you guys, Franne is one of our guests on this special series that we're going to be focusing on pro-life, different aspects, different issues. And Franne actually has a very interesting testimony on how she actually became pro-life, how she began to fight for the sanctity of life. Now, Franne, can you share with us a little bit about how, what called you to this movement?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's... And a short answer for that, I would say it was just learning more about my faith, most importantly, learning about facts, fetal facts, and how the church saw the value and dignity of life since conception. That kind of made me realize why the unborn were so valuable for the pro-life movement, and I ended up converting to switching that side.
And before learning all of this, Franne, what were your thoughts before on the unborn?
Well, ironically, it was actually that before they were born, they actually they didn't really have value. They weren't human enough to have that value. And I didn't see them as unique human beings, to be honest, even though I can distinguish, their body parts and everything, the science part of it. Rather, I prioritize the women's right to choose, because that's what I felt like I was brainwashed, in a sense, subtly, in this culture and society that as women we had that right to be able to terminate and abort unborn babies.
And it's interesting because that manipulation is something we see so early on now, even in school. I mean, I'm sure you have memory. I have memory as well of learning about birth control, safe sex, Planned Parenthood resources and things like that really throughout the years, I think, took us to a place of even now you hear, to have abortions is a merciful act. You're thinking about the other, it's love for the other. And so it's really easy to fall into that, especially when that's the only side you're hearing, especially on social media. It's all you see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't grow up in the age of social media, but it was definitely the message of it was being more merciful to kill the unborn baby before it suffers, before it comes into this world where there is suffering. And now, inevitably, I've learned that it's a part of human life. It's suffering. I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am now without it. And who are we to say that because of the conditions that the baby's going to be born in, that we're supposed to end their life sooner, because somehow that's the nicer, safer, loving thing to do. And it's just kind of mind-boggling now thinking of it. But back then, that was my thought process, because I witnessed a lot of suffering, especially seeing my mom suffer with a lot of domestic violence. So I thought, why would we want to bring another life into this? That's how I pictured women being in that circumstance where they had to make this drastic choice because they were in circumstances that were unsafe for their unborn baby and for themselves.
Yes. And then, Franny, so you've also, well, I've heard your testimony, I would say, on two different occasions. And you did share a little bit, if you don't mind sharing with us, a little bit of when you used to work at an abortion center before. Maybe just a summary of when you started, what was your experience there, your thought process as you started and when you ended.
Yeah, so I was very younger. I don't think I'm that old, but I was in my my 20s, fresh out of college, and being a teen mom myself, and thankfully choosing life for my daughter. I thought, I justified and thought, well, a lot of young girls don't know about contraception and safe sex and all this stuff. I at least I don't remember having Planned Parenthood in my schools or anything like that. Obviously, we did have that health class about it, but not to the extreme that it is taught now. And so I thought it's like I need to educate girls and women about it. What are the resources? Yeah, definitely we can decrease abortions or the thought of abortions if we educate girls ahead of time and properly. But little did I know, it took too long, I feel, to realize that that was already being done to some extent. And women and girls were still using abortion as a option, like a method of birth control. Mm-hmm. And not only that, I think the fact that God helped me see the truth in the fact that I was not me thinking that I was going in there to help women. I was just like, the Holy Spirit helped me realize, like, you're actually helping all these girls get used. And that kind of felt, I know for a lot of people in the pro-life side, they're like, yeah, of course, we know that. And I'm like, for me, it was just like a ton of bricks falling onto me, and that thick veil falling off my eyes when I realized this big truth, that I'm enabling girls get used.
So that must have been, like you said, like a ton of bricks. And in that moment, you would say that's when you just really began to open your eyes to just the facts about the harm in the women, like how it was actually harming them instead of helping them.
Yes. Well, the fact that even though they would come in and get educated, per se, and get all this birth control, even a year's supply and all this stuff of knowing their options. I would go a list of different types of birth control. I mean, for whatever reason, well, not whatever reason, for really careless reasons, they would discontinue. Like, oh, it's not going to happen, or I'm going to stop having sex, or this, I just didn't like it and I'm going to stop. And next thing you know, because they stop, they come back and they're pregnant and now they need an abortion.
And that's something we see so often, or hear about, at least, of women who are going in and they've had multiple abortions.
Yes, that's another thing. It was just like I couldn't comprehend that to a certain point anymore. I couldn't justify it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not because they're uneducated. It's not because they don't have resources. It's really just not being held accountable of their actions for a lot of women. And there's, of course, women that are getting coerced and feeling pressured. And all this pressure has a lot to do, because I went through it myself, being a teen mom. It's just like, what are people going to think of me? What is family going to think of me? I'm a single mom. I ruined my life. I'm not married. And you feel like, yeah, we pretty much pressure ourselves into this being the only option for us.
Mm-hmm. It's all we see, in a way, right? It's kind of like we don't see any other option. I'm sure even when you were a teen mom, at that age, like you said, you were worried about what were people going to think, what were they going to say, how are you going to get ahead? And were you ever offered any other resources or options, like help for low-income mothers, pregnancy crisis centers? Were you ever offered any other options at Planned Parenthood?
At Planned Parenthood, no, they didn't. I remember when I worked there, there was only like a list of, we had this referral list and like a couple places for adoption resources. We weren't even trained for adoption option. We weren't even really offered that. It was pretty much birth control. That was it. Birth control or nothing. And then we didn't have any, even for basic health care, they were so outdated with offering resources for, like, because I learned later after leaving that their services are so limited, and they didn't even have a list of referrals to send for more extended comprehensive health care. And the funny thing is that I ended up afterwards, after I quit working at Planned Parenthood, I ended up working for a community clinic, and I realized, oh my gosh, we're offering almost nothing in Planned Parenthood compared to this community clinic that I'm working in, that also offered birth control, but it's just not the abortion part.
Yeah, they weren't so limited. They were actually, they provided you all the resources necessary, right, to try to help.
Yeah, exactly. So whether it be, I mean, I've worked for 2 organizations, and some of them even offered legal help and mental health, dental health, all these resources. And it's like, we actually need more of those instead of Planned Parenthood.
Yes. Yeah. That they provide so little, right? And even then for what they do provide, which is birth control and abortions as well, they don't even, these poor women who go through these traumatic events, they don't receive any therapy, any counseling, any calls of how are you doing after. Sometimes they don't even know whatever happened to her. You know?
Exactly. That was another thing that wasn't really discussed, like if they needed help or counseling, mental health resources. That was never offered as an option afterwards either. I know it's been more than a decade since I've worked there. I know things have changed, and I tried to update myself with how are they working. And I've seen that they're trying to incorporate that more. But back when I was working there, it was not even something we really offered at all.
Provided. Wow. And there's so many more other things beyond that as well that are very questionable, right? Even recently I was hearing Abby Johnson was saying that the mothers, they don't even see their doctor. They don't even see them before. They don't see them until the moment of the procedure.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things that I still laugh to this day, because a lot of politicians and famous people, they try to say it's an option between her and her doctor. And I just still laugh because they're still using that phrase. And it's ridiculous. They literally meet the doctor right before the actual procedure, the abortion procedure, and it's literally just, I would say, a minute is generous. It's just seconds of saying, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm going to be providing you with this abortion, and if they have any questions, and that's it. They don't actually even discuss the options.
Wow. And that's it's frustrating, you know, the lies that these poor women are being fed. Yeah. It's one thing, you know, what they're providing, but it's another thing to be manipulated, to just be lied to, you know, to your face. Like, you think you're going to go in for treatment, you're going to receive the resources, all of the options, but no, in fact, you go in just receiving 1 or 2 options. You don't you don't sit down with your doctor, they don't give you a consultation, they don't give you a really good physical exam. It's just what they're going for, and they just move you to the procedure. And
yeah, and that was something really hard for me to come to terms, because I really cared about I thought back then I really cared about my patients and the women I was seeing. And I would try really hard to take my time, and I would even get in trouble for it. Because later on I realized that Planned Parenthood actually wants to get things done, one and done. I mean, coming in and out, be as efficient as possible, have one abortion room ready and another one as well, so that way the doctor can go from one room to the other very swiftly and efficiently, and the more patients we saw, the better. The quicker ones as well. So if the woman didn't have any questions, she wasn't having any complaints of any discomfort, or she was afraid and maybe she just needed to have more time, I mean, it was even better for us because it made it faster and efficient throughout our day, and we're able to see more patients if we could.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine, Franne, you working there and seeing all of this. How long were you working there?
Almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years. Mm-hmm. So 5 years of constantly seeing this over and over and over again, and then just having more knowledge of what was happening in there. I imagine it must have had a great effect on you, on your mental health, on just your well-being overall.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't also realize that impacted me, because I thought, well, I didn't have an abortion, it didn't affect me. Mm-hmm. But in reality, it has. Having the flashbacks of me working there, and the fact that, I mean, I'm a big truth teller and truth seeker. So the fact that I was lying to all these girls and women and people in my community just breaks me still to this day, because I thought I was going in there to help them, and it was the Latino community and the women that I'm very passionate in serving, and that's where I hurt the most, with the fact that I was part of sharing the lies and being part of it.
And of course, you know, He plays a really big role in all of our lives. And I know, well, I mean, you see it, your testimony of the role He has played in your life, that although you worked there and, you know, all of the things you saw and you know, the lies you said that you told people, that to this day, it's something that you use for the good. Now you use it to try to help women, to try to give them that warning. Would you say that working there before is part of the mission you have now?
Yes. I mean, sometimes I hate the fact that I have the past I have from working there. It literally feels like I used to be, you know, we hear these stories about like Nazi Germany and doing all these horror things. And I mean, that's kind of closest to what I can compare myself of doing now. So I know a lot of people don't see it that way, or might not feel like it's that bad. But once you learn the truth, that's how it does feel. But in the end, the fact that I remember God's mercy and I hold on to Christ, and He constantly reminds me that, you know, I had to go through this so I can share the truth. And if that's what it took, then I gladly just embrace it back again and embrace my past and how God has brought me now to today. And I'm able to share everything I've gone through and seen and witnessed with my own eyes. It's not hearsay or anything like that. It's like stuff that I saw and witnessed working inside the industry.
And then what can you share with us of an experience that what's an experience or testimony that you can share with us that deeply touched your heart? It could be maybe when you worked there, when you left there, or even now just being part of the movement. what would you say is an experience that really touched your heart, or that really gave you that confirmation, like from God, of like, this is where you're supposed to be, like you're doing what I'm calling you to do?
Like, as far as afterwards or during?
It could be you would have been working there before, or after you left, or even in present day. That
I would
really
say
had a significant change in you.
I think the last straw, like I said, I shared to a lot of people my conversion into my faith and to becoming pro-life didn't come instantly. However, one of the other, or the last impact that I had that I remember from working in Planned Parenthood, I was already really involved in church and the adult youth group and reading the Word of God and having a regular prayer life. Was, I think, the last week that we had our abortion day, which was held on Tuesdays. And that last abortion day, I had to be in the lab area or products of conception room that people may know of, where we pretty much assemble the body parts of the baby. Internally, I was just like, in my head, I'm like, why am I doing this? Why? I don't feel right doing this anymore. Like, this is not from God. This is not good. And after that day, I was, a bit scared. So I did do the whole 2-week notice thing. I didn't just got up and left. But after that day, I realized that there was a human life that I was destroying, that I helped destroy, and I was putting back together their body parts. And that's one thing I remember the most that impacted me. One of the things that impacted me the most.
And then being there or along with the other women who were working there, did you notice this kind of impact on them as well? Did you ever see them maybe struggling as well?
Yeah, usually it was the new staff that struggled. When they started, it just felt uncomfortable to them. Mm-hmm. For people like myself that we were like on 2nd, 3rd year working there and beyond, it was just like another day, which made me realize, actually we all become immune to it. We become immune to it when we just learn to adapt. One thing I've been able to also reflect on was the fact that a lot of us that worked in there have a lot of trauma ourselves, have gone through. A lot of them also have aborted. I know staff or coworkers that had done that, and that's why they justified being there too. Mm-hmm. So then it's just the way we deal with other things that have happened in our lives. We did the same thing with this abortion issue and experience working in an abortion industry. For some, I don't remember at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I can't pinpoint the specific coworker or anything, but there's some people it was just not for them, and they would not continue working after a couple of weeks. It was just too much for them. But for other staff, it was just like, we became very numb working in there.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think, Franny, we can do in our ordinary lives to help these women like you they're employed still, they're in Planned Parenthood or any abortion center? What can we do just in our ordinary lives?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a question I get a lot in the pro-life movement, and I think the primary thing that can be done is just to show grace and love. Aside from having these different stance on this issue, simply because, and I see myself a lot in these workers, because we, or they, I can say now, genuinely believe they're helping. They genuinely believe they're in the right side, because that's what essentially I believe too. But the fact that people are still interceding and praying for these workers and their conversions in every way, shape, or form without, having the person know. I mean, that's huge. I think personally that's what helped me, knowing that there's this whole community that's praying for workers, and just being still polite and sweet and breaking that stereotype that pro-lifers have in the abortion industry, which is that they're crazy, that they're there to harm us, they want to kill us. I mean, those are the stereotypes they got me with, convinced that the other side wanted to do to us. So I was afraid. I was afraid of the pro-lifers. Afraid of the pro-lifers, because I didn't know what was going to happen. They would give us these scary, extreme examples. They want to poison you. They try to bomb this clinic, and I don't know where. They shot this abortion doctor in this other state. So just the fact that if you're being graceful, polite, and praying for them, I mean, being a different face for the pro-life movement, a different face that they are used to hearing, or seeing in the media and all that. I think that's a great way to start.
To really start. And I'm glad you bring that up, because it's something that I think we all need to be reminded every now and then, because, we hear so much of the really bad things, horrible things that are happening at these abortion centers. And sometimes we could even get this resentment with the workers, with the abortionists, anybody promoting it. But at the end of the day, God calls us to look out for our brothers and sisters. And it's very impactful to see how people like yourself who used to work there, or abortionists that have had conversions, how they're helping the pro-life movement now. How they're helping a lot of workers, like, for example, Abby Johnson. I'm sure you've heard of her. She also used to work at Planned Parenthood, and now she has this organization, and then There Were None. It's to help women who are trying to leave this place, to quit, because a lot of them, they're regular people, who are trying to pay their bills. They're trying to do the right thing here in society and work and things like that. So it's amazing. It's amazing to see you here today. You not only used to work there, you share your testimony, but you keep doing, even though you still carry wounds from it, you are still here present today to give your voice to others, to give your voice for the unborn and for the people who work at these facilities still.
Yeah, that's I'm grateful that Abby has taken the lead in being able to help the workers. That's a great resource that we have now, and I'm part of her ministry as well, and she's helped me a lot. The ministry has helped me a lot with healing, and the fact that I even needed healing, because I didn't think like, well, do I really need healing? And like, they just opened all these things that I was really holding inside and not sharing, even in my church, because I thought, I still think sometimes I am a monster because I used to do this. And it's just like, why would somebody want to hear all this, or what are they going to think of me? So it's something I was in my church, and eventually they found out, but really? And they didn't, and they were not judgmental at all. Like, all these things I thought they were going to say or think of me, and it's nothing like that. It was just me thinking that they were going to think all these things. But yeah, it's some wonderful thing to do for for former workers. And even once they leave, a lot of us don't completely convert to the pro-life movement right away. Mm-hmm. I was the same way, and it's just, still continue to pray for the workers, just because our battle becomes so intense too. Mm-hmm. Like I said, initially I was not used to having flashbacks until I went to one of Abby Johnson's retreat. That when I started my healing process with all that, that's when I started encountering, and it's just very, very shocking. And I'm like, why is this happening to me? Yeah. But well, now I know it just means that the enemy always wants to just attack and ruin what happens.
Of course. And then I'm glad you shared too that when somebody decides to leave, there's still a process. Like, you don't just jump out and you're like, I'm pro-life now. So it's important, I think, for a lot of us to know that, because you were there many years. So it's so many years of things that you saw, the traumas and things, and so much healing that needs to happen. Like you said, a lot of them that work there still maybe have already aborted already. So they're carrying that trauma along with what they're seeing. And so it's important that we're all patient with people, everybody in their process, right?
Yeah.
And, well, I'm glad you're sharing that with us. And then also, just to kind of close, Franne, what is something that you would tell somebody who's still working there today, or someone who recently quit? What's something that you would tell them?
Well, I would tell them that there's help for them if they want to quit. There's so many resources and help for actual mothers that want to continue their pregnancy, or they're scared that we're completely ignorant or don't know about. And this is the other side that actually wants to help women, to just kind of give it a chance and have an open mind, an open heart, and just get to learn a little bit more about this pro-life movement inside, and that there's help out there if they want to leave, or even just they want to learn more about the pro-life movement and what it really is about. There's help out here, and they'll be more than welcome. I used to think that I wouldn't be welcome in the other side for some reason, or it was going to be super awkward, but it's not. I swear it's not. And it's a loving experience that you won't regret.
Thank you. And well, for everyone watching, just know there are plenty of resources, like Franne has stated, of resources to help women, women who've worked at these facilities, and of course women who are in pregnancy crisis right now. And just so many resources like Live Action, where you can know more of the facts, gain more knowledge, so that you're able to fight for life. And one thing we're going to close with is actually a quote from St. John of the Cross. In the twilight of life, God will not judge us on earthly possessions and human success, but rather on how much we loved. So I'll leave you guys with that. To reflect on what God has called us on this earth to be love to others, and how in our ordinary lives we can reach other souls that are going through a really tough time right now. And so thank you, Franne, again for joining us today on the Fountain of Light. We hope to have her again here soon again, and so we'll see you guys for the next series.